Hello, everyone. It's the interview queen, Alicia Atout here, and I'm so excited to welcome you all to my interview with Nash. Hello.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm finishing up my cup of coffee from this morning, and just enjoying the day. I was working on a little verse thingy for a friend of mine, and yeah, just a whole lot of exciting stuff going on in my world, and it's interesting because I've been home for so long now with all these things going on the planet. I'm just doing my best to stay conscious, but also uh,
Not
keep
get
keep the ball rolling
consumed.
forward with the music. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've been trying to find that fine balance of. You want to make sure you're conscious of everything going on and state your piece and, keep up with everything at the same time. You don't want it to consume you because it's very easy for that to happen. And you have to somehow maintain positive in all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been meditating a lot. I've actually been doing like a lot of spiritual experience kind of work amongst myself and just um, diving deep and finding some answers to some questions I've had for a long time. And I found myself not physically tired, but almost like just mentally and emotionally tired from that. But it's been nice to take the time to do so. And I think we all need each other right now more than ever. So I'm grateful to be a little bit of a part of that and be able to bring light to some people who need it.
How are you holding up with everything going on right now as far as being under quarantine goes? And more importantly, how's the Animal Crossings town coming along?
It's going well. So when it comes to Animal Crossing, I'll start there. The credits rolled after Tom Nook came, or after the guy came and played, KK Slider came and played the show. And so I was like, man, like I love this game, but I spent like 400 hours on it already. I got to take a little
Oh my
breather.
gosh,
Yeah.
seriously?
Oh yeah, I went in like I made 1.2 million bells in a turnip sale at one point. Like I
That's
like had like a little
impressive.
empire going, and then I was just like, I got to take a little breather with this. So that's taking a break, but it's good because it's allowed me to get creative. And funnily enough, actually, I was putting off finishing outside. And then I hadn't even started Inside yet, which are the last two songs I put out. And then I stopped playing Animal Crossing, and then all of that time freed up, and then I finished the new song. So I was like, all right, I think I should probably focus on this instead of my Animal Crossing island for a second. So,
Right.
but I'm going to get back on it. I was having some fun with doing Twitch and stuff like that.
It's amazing how it completely takes you over because I used to play on the old school version like DS and GameCube. And
Yeah.
I remember just going out there gardening peaches, going to the store and designing my clothes. Like you really just, it completely consumes you in the best of
Yeah.
ways though. I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a fun game, and they definitely know what they're doing at Nintendo, man. I love them,
Yeah.
and I'm a huge fan of everything they do. And I never really got into the old ones, so this was like a whole new world for me. It was really fun.
That's awesome it doesn't matter when you get on board, the moment you do, there's no turning back.
Exactly, exactly.
Now, is it true that you once had a super brief meeting with Tony Hawk in Italy? And, since then, were you able to get your hands on the Pro Skater game early?
No, I wasn't. So
Aw,
so I did this show that's like it's like a huge late night show in Italy. I guess it airs on Sundays, and we performed on it, and then it was like Ed Sheeran was like the main musical guest. The show's so poppin' that it had two musical guests, right? So I was like the opener, and then they had an interview, and then they had Ed Sheeran play. So it was crazy because I got to meet Ed, and we talked for a bit, and it was awesome. And then like in the hallway on the way back to my green room, I see Tony Hawk, and I'm like, oh my God, like this is insane. I'm literally in like this green room in Italy, and I've just met Ed Sheeran, and now I'm like walking past Tony Hawk.
that's
I'm all like, yo man, you mean so much to me. Like I grew up like skateboarding and like literally broke my elbow because I was like playing your video games and like all. And he's like, that's so cool, man. Like, thank you so much. Gives me a hug, and he's like, do you know where Ed is? And I'm like, I like that way. And he's like,
yeah.
dope. I want to give him the skateboard, and just like dips past me. And I'm like, dude, you are such a legend. Like all he cared about was like, I want to get Ed the skateboard. Like,
That's
and
awesome.
so then the other day when I tweeted him like that, it was more of just a joke. Like,
Of
yo, you
course.
probably don't remember me, but can I get that game early? And I didn't hear anything back, but maybe I will before it drops. But
That's true. You still have some time before it's released, so you never
yeah,
know.
I've got some time, and now I'm looking forward to the Miles Morales SpiderMan that they're gonna put out with PS5. I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna be like first wave PS5 person, so yeah, I'm pretty stoked on that. The Spider-Man game was like the main reason I got a PS4 a couple years ago. So I've since given that to my sister, and she plays like GTA and all those things. And then I'm gonna get the PS5 when it comes out, so I can get those too. I'm pretty excited.
Did you jump on the Spider-Man bandwagon simply because of the video games? Have you always loved the films? Goes back to comic books. Like, where did you kind of
Yeah,
begin
so
that?
I was my first console was actually a PS1 and then a PS2 and then I got the GameCube. So I had like all the Tony Hawk stuff on PlayStation, and then I had also the Spider-Man 2 game for the movie, the Tobey Maguire one.
Yep.
And so that game was like life changing and I loved it. So then when they were coming out with the new one for PS4, I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to get this. So I got it, and I beat that game in like 4 days or something crazy.
4 days.
Yeah, but people are way better at games than me. But I like when I really like something, I'm not usually one for the games. Like I was really late to Zelda. I just got Breath of the Wild like maybe a year and a half ago and played that. And I'm not big on anything that's like war based or battle based or aiming or anything like that. I'm not great with that. But I do love a great story, and I'll play a game just to keep watching the story, almost like a movie, you know?
Yeah.
So like it becomes like my new show that I'm watching. So like if there was a 90-Day Fiance video game, I would probably be playing it right now because like,
Don't
yeah.
get me started, man. Like, don't get me started. I just watched the brand new episode that aired last night, the Happily Ever After one. And I think these are the craziest couples we've had to date. Like, they are insane.
You know what? I think honestly, like it's been plenty fun to watch. We're a little late on it. We're catching up. So we're on the first episode of the reunion of the Happily Ever After on them before the 90 days. But you know what? I think it's interesting because I think that they're all just very unique people, and I think, you know, obviously it's a show and it's pretty well constructed, and I don't know how much I believe some of the different dynamics, but
yeah,
man, some of the storylines this season, I don't want to give any spoiler alerts for anybody, but
it's
it was
good though.
You know what I'm talking about. It was crazy.
Yeah. So. Twist after twist, or surprise after surprise. Like it's a good season, trust us.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you had briefly mentioned it earlier, but of course I do want to get into the new double release that you just put out, Outside Inside. It's pretty much a track that sums up two releases that sums up the highs and lows of how the world has been and how everyone's kind of dealing with the pandemic. So did it just get to a point for you where you were at home, you put down the Animal Crossings, and you're like, I'm just going to write about everything I'm kind of feeling right now? Because it seems like a lot of your music is that. It's very open and honest with everyone.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, actually, we wrote Outside in October of last year.
Okay.
I had this idea because I was taking a bunch of walks with my friend John, who actually ended up producing Inside. And we were walking a bunch and talking a bunch, and we were just talking about, at that time, everything that was going on, and you know, we have a lot of political climate stuff in America. I'm personally not the biggest fan of I won't even say his name, but you know, the person who's playing president right now. And so we were just talking about everything going on and how scary it is to be alive and scary to go outside and all these different things. And I realized like, whoa, this is kind of an interesting idea for a song, like getting carried away in a conversation and then just being like, whoa, wait, like, let's just go take a walk. Let's get an ice cream. Like, let's just like take a deep breath and chill. And so I was in the studio working on a different song here, actually in this room with my friend Annika Bennett, and Daniel Weber. I'm saying everybody's names wrong today. I've had too much coffee. And we were finishing up this other record, and then I threw this idea out because I'd just been thinking about it. And Annika just nailed the chorus idea right away. She was like, what if it was just like you kind of doing your rappy thing, like it's scary to do this, it's scary to do that, and then you just came into the, wait, what were we talking about? And Weber and I both were like, yo, that is insane. So we cut it down, and then I just sat on it for a long time. Then 2020 rolled around. Things just got more and more intense for people. And we were, you know, now we have to stay inside. And then there's all these protests going on, which are fantastic. And I'm so proud to even be able to go and be a part of them. And I think it's amazing, everything that's going on. And it's beautiful and sad and all of these feelings. And it just became more and more present that Outside needed to be finished. So I had this idea to do it as a double release, Outside, Inside. And then I needed Inside. So I kind of had this loop rolling in my head of like my daily routine while I was in quarantine, which is the make the bed, do something right, do the dishes, cook the rice, that kind of thing. And then my buddy John, who I mentioned earlier, who actually kind of indirectly inspired Outside initially, hit me up and was like, yo, like, let's just play some chords and mess around on FaceTime and see what we come up with. Because he's a producer and he's also my drummer on tour. So I was like, all right, whatever. Me and him have been friends since we were in 7th grade. So it was like, yeah, maybe we come up with something, maybe we don't. And then he started playing these chords and I was like, oh my God, that loop works perfectly.
So, yeah.
So it all clicked into place, and I put the vocals down. I did the little things. It was super natural and easy to deal with. And then finishing that idea, then I was like, all right, now I have to finish Outside. So then I went back, cleaned that up, got the vocals down on that, and then put them together. And then mentioned to Rosabelle, who's not only my partner, but also my manager, and also kind of just someone I bounce a lot of creative ideas off of. And I was like, you know, I'd love for you to direct a video for me at some point. And then like a day later, I had this done, and then she suggested the video idea.
That's crazy. So
her and my creative director, Max, wrote the treatment together. And then he ended up editing it. So it was all very in-house. So my best friend from high school produced it, and Annika and Weber just brought it to the table easily on Outside. And then Rosabelle and Max made the video, and I'm just kind of the star player in the whole thing. And, you know, it all worked out well. So that's how it all came to be. And, you know, I think it is reflects. I was looking at the YouTube comments yesterday, which I know isn't something I should do, but it popularizes the positive ones to the top. So I only scroll so far down. And someone commented, I feel like this is like a time capsule or something like that for like right now. And in the future, when people want to know how we feel.
That's a really cool perspective of it.
Yeah, they'll listen to this and be like, oh, wow, this is what it was like. And I was like, whoa, that is a crazy way to think about it. But I guess that is kind of the case. But yeah, I think the final thing that like confirmed to me, like, yeah, this should come out and this makes sense and whatever, because I don't ever want to just make songs that are good for the now. And that's like with me focusing on making things that are like radio ready pop hits or whatever, right? Like I always want to make things that I never think like that. I mean, sometimes I do, but I never put those songs out. And the songs that I do put out are ones where I'm like, this will work for a while. And in this case, kind of unfortunately, I was reading this book that I randomly bought on Amazon because it had some nice keywords in it that I found online. It's like a parenting book from the early 2000s called Hope and Healing. But I was on like one of the Google Books pages, and it had a bunch of like little statements and quotes that I liked. So I was like, all right, I'll grab it and read it. And the opening statement is talking about right after 9/11, how to be a parent to children who don't understand what's going on. And if I had to go and look at when the book was published, because it literally was reading like it came out last week. Like,
really?
Yeah, because it was like, it's all the same feeling. Like majorly traumatic thing happens. Like we all literally are told like there's a virus on this planet, and if you go outside and live your life like you normally do, you'll be infected by it, which is very true. And like you have to wear a mask, and everybody's walking around with masks on, which is a very good thing to do, but it's very scary looking to children. And so the song on the last lyric is, I'd hate to be a child now, they'll be scared for a while now. And I think that I finally was like, I should put this out because yes, it's relevant to now, and hopefully it'll help people today. But unfortunately, this is something that time and time again happens. History repeats itself in this way. And yeah, so I think that's why I felt empowered to release it at all. And I'm grateful that I did, because clearly it's helping people. But I think that hopefully and somewhat unfortunately, it will help people for a long time. So I'm just grateful for the people I made it with to help me get it out, because if I didn't have my friends, I probably wouldn't have done it.
No, it's lovely when those things come together, especially because it feels like both tracks were, you know, in fruition for so long, and then it all just kind of speeds up towards the end. You know, those little moments are always something you don't forget when that creative magic kind of happens. But
yeah, it's wonderful, you know. But yeah, I'm grateful for my friends who helped me make it happen, because I think that I had just become very, very comfortable with not doing very much of anything besides go out to protest, wear a mask when I go to the grocery store once a week, and play Animal Crossing. And I think that my friends definitely were like, no, this is good. You should put this out. I love these songs. So I'm grateful for them for that. And I'm grateful for the people who checked it out and are checking it out right now. I bet someone's listening to it right now, which is such a crazy idea, but grateful.
It's neat too, because with all of the darkness going on in the world, you do still have a positive outlook on stuff, whether talking to you now or through the tweets that I read of yours. So have you always been a fairly open person and a fairly positive person, or did something kind of come along? Okay, I see you shaking your head there. So did something kind of come along in your life that changed the perspective for you? 'Cause I was
Yeah,
the same, not always kind of looking on the bright side.
yeah, no, I definitely have not always been a generally positive person, and I am also not genuinely always a positive person right now. I think that everything is a roller coaster, and I think that the internet encourages us to put our best face forward. Where in life we're supposed to put our best foot forward, I think the internet asks us to put our best face forward.
Yeah.
And so, you know, someone could be in the middle of the worst flu they've ever had, but they're posting pictures from their trip to Bali 2 years ago because they want the world to think that they're thriving, right? So I think for me, my version of that is, instead of doing things that are, you know, more power to them, whatever, but that's just not me. That's very like an ego driven kind of thing. And for me, I think that the way my mind works and my ego drives me is that I want people to be like, wow, like I'm glad that he was able to help me with this moment, or I'm glad that I read this thing and made me feel better, or whatever it is. Because when people feel better like that, it makes me feel better. One, that someone connects with how I feel, and two, that that somebody understands me and that it helped them feel better. So it's kind of selfish and selfless at the same time. So when I put up something online that is more on the positive end of things, I know that it probably won't do as well as something that maybe is sad, or something that, especially with the history of my music and the fan base that I've garnered, like, you know, I know for sure that if I put online, like, you know, I still think about you sometimes and just miss you so much, right? Like that tweet would probably get like 3,000 favorites. But if I'm like, hey man, I hope you have a nice day, and like look at the sky sometime,
Yeah.
that might only do 500, but those 500 people like maybe will have a little bit of a better day because of it. So I think that like I had to make a resolution with myself at some point that I wasn't just going to try and play the game and like be like a player in it, but just be myself and try and make people's days a little bit brighter. Like I do when I go to the grocery store and I take 2 extra minutes to ask the person how their day is going that's checking out my groceries at the counter. Or I have a conversation with my Lyft driver instead of just sitting there being quiet, you know? I'm just that kind of person, I guess, most of the time. So I try to bring that side of myself to the world when I present myself on the internet, because, you know, I know that like, if I take a picture with someone, that's just a moment in time to me, but that picture for them is history and it's forever.
Yeah.
And so I never want that moment with a person to be anything but Disneyland magical. And so I think that every little thing that I say or do online is like a moment or a fraction of that. So it's important to be honest and it's important to be realistic. And sometimes I will counterbalance it. And I think the music definitely helps counterbalance a lot of that. But I think that, you know, with things that I want to live out there forever, like I definitely don't want my like last post or last thing I ever do in this body and mindset to be like, you know, sometimes when it's late and it's dark, I just order food and cry. Like, you know what I mean? I want it to be like, hey, I love you and it's going to be okay.
Right.
You know? Or like, you know, I think that like I am a huge Mac Miller fan. And like, I think that the things that I see from him still in my Explore page are, you know, smile, you're a lot more powerful than you think you are. And like, I hope you have a great day today and things like that, because like, you know, he said a lot of things while he's alive, but those are the things that it feels like people need the most to hear from him. So,
And that resonate.
Yeah. So I think about that, and I think about, you know, the people that need to hear something a little bit brighter than whatever their reality is at the moment. And so that's why I try to keep it positive online. You know, and I also think, to be totally honest, like, you know, I would never want anybody to like you asked, right? I haven't always been like the positive light in the room. And if there is anybody that maybe was like rubbed the wrong way by me or had a bad first impression of me, I also kind of want them to know, if they ever come across anything I say or do, that at least I'm trying to be the best me that I can be today.
Right.
So, you know, that's kind of part of it too for me. I think it's just like being and also now more than ever, like I was saying earlier, with more like the spiritual enlightenment and meditation and things like that, I've been really, really focused on being the same person I am on the inside that I am on the outside. And that's what the shirt that we made for Outside Inside represents. My artist and friend Joel, he made this beautiful piece and we put it on a shirt, and his explanation for it is that it's very important to be the same person on the inside that you are on the outside. So I think that in this time where I've been inside so much, I've been really focused on, ironically, taking that message that I put out in the world on the outside and really internalizing that and becoming one with the whole thing, and recognizing that we're all one and that we all have one general consciousness. And, you know, I smile at my plants in the yard, and I also love taking my cat outside, and I also love drinking the coffee that I'm drinking, and I like having this conversation. And, you know, it's all very cyclical. And I think
the little things. It really
totally
is.
So anyway, so just that kind of inner self-reflection and making sure that it's recognized and it's heard and it's understood that at least right here and right now in this moment, when I posted this or did that or said that or recorded this or whatever, I'm being the best me that I can be today. And that's all I can do. I can't change the past and I can't predict the future, but I can be here now.
It's definitely having an impact on people, because even looking when you retweet things and it comes up in my feed, or you read reviews, you watch music videos, the positivity is rubbed off on people, and you can really tell. And like being on YouTube and posting stuff, we're always going to have people who are negative. It's impossible not to. But it's nice when people reciprocate the positivity, and you definitely have that going with your fan base. So I mean,
yeah, I love the people that love my music, and I'm very grateful for them. And generally they are a positive bunch, and I think that's awesome. And if we're growing together, you know, I'm a huge Jack Johnson fan, like obsessive. I have a signed picture from him on my roads over here, and my dad got me when I was a little kid. My first internship was at his label. I'm a huge fan. And he said at one point in an interview that he likes to think that his fans are growing up with him, his listeners. And that, you know, so his first record, he was, you know, in his 20s and just getting into, you know, the beginnings of a serious relationship, maybe getting married, whatever, but kind of those feelings. Second album, you know, the next step of that. Third album is like love songs, and that's where you got like Better Together and Banana Pancakes and these kinds of things. Then the next record is like having kids and what that's like. And he was like, I like to think that wherever my listener is in their life, they're growing with me, and they're recognizing that I'm a human and I'm growing. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but I'm a human and I'm growing, and so they're a human and they're growing, and that's okay, and it's all a process. So I think that throughout my life, I want to make records and I want to make songs that just represent exactly where I'm at. And I haven't always felt that way, but I think very recently I resolved that that's the best service I can bring to the world, and that's how I can be a great person for people, is to just, here's how I'm feeling, this is where I'm at. So that's what Outside and Inside are. They're a very transparent read on like, here's how I'm feeling and this is where I'm at, and the next thing will be the next thing, and hopefully people grow with me. And as long as I'm not regressing emotionally, and I'm always growing as an individual and experiencing new things and traveling and thinking and being, and, you know, being an open-minded person, hopefully my listeners will grow up with me, and more will join as we go. And I'm very grateful for that.
It seems to be working for you. So congratulations on that. Like it really does, even from the outer perspective looking in, it definitely
Thank
does.
you. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, always going back to the inside-outside thing.
Yeah.
But I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to hop on here. It was an absolute pleasure finally hosting this interview.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope I didn't ramble on too long. Maybe you can edit me down a bit. It's your call.
I'm the same way. I'm a rambler, so I completely feel where you're coming from. But
I just like, it's like when I write a verse, I'll just like put it all in the note, and then I'm like, all right, now I have way too much. So then I have to like cut it way down. And it's like, I always like to think these are like writing those essays for college applications, where like they're like, you only have 160 letters. And you're like, what am I going to do with 160 letters?
Impossible.
So then you're taking out like acknowledging and putting in like seeing, or like, you know what I mean? Like you're like cutting down all these words. So I feel like, yeah, so feel free, whatever you got to do. And thank you for great questions.
Thank you so much, everybody. This has been the Awesome Gnash. I am the interview queen, Alicia Atout. Be sure to check out aliciaatout.com for all exclusive interviews and features, and we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Peace.